Hello humans, I'm Johannes from Hong Kong, and in this video I will show you how we made the intro sound from simulation. So we actually made the sound with a sample, but because that's boring to explain, Thomas decided to rebuild that sample in Serum, and that's what we're going to do now. So open up Serum. We need one basic shape set to saw, level around 75%. Second oscillator also set to saw and level around 38%. And now one thing to get a bit of movement going is put LFO3 on there, on the fine. Around 55, I guess, and just the basic LFO curve. Now it should sound like this. So next up in the effects tab is the filter, because we need to get that plucky sound with a big attack. So we use a MG Low 18, cutoff around 650 Hertz, and put in an LFO on there with this attacky curve. Around 59, rest is at 0, and the mix is all the way up, but then you do around -12 with the LFO, and now it should sound like this. Like, yeah, more clicky, more plucky. So next up is the reverb, and this one is pretty important because it gives the sound its character, because you play the sound really long. It has a really long sustain. It's a pretty big one, but the most important thing is this curve here, LFO2. Put it on a mix and just back to 0. So it starts with no reverb and then it just comes in at the end, and you get that nice tail. So last up is just some EQing to clean out the low end. So, and that's all we need in Serum. So now we got our sample, so we just need to bounce that. It sounds like this. And we just take that sample, that audio, and put it into a sampler. And you need a sampler with a loop function. I think almost any native sampler, except Logic maybe, can do looping. So you just put your sample into your sampler and create a loop right where your tail kicks in from the sound that we created with our reverb. So this part gets looped forever. So if you play it higher, it will sound like this. Like an infinite loop. And if you pitch it even higher, it will just like cycle even faster. So that's almost our sound. Now all we need to add are some effects. At first, distortion. Then some blur. That's more like a little stereo small room thingy, like dimension expander. And just some reverb. So the last important thing for the sound is the MIDI programming. The notes are pretty simple. You just need 2 notes for every part, and the one is very low and the other one is pretty up high. I think it's mostly triads, but I can show you. Like this. You just start off with your low note and then just press the other one after that, and like that you get that distortion thing, that the low note distorts your high note, and it sounds more gritty. Then in addition to that, we also used the filter section in the sampler. So we have a low cut in there, and the harder you press it, the more it opens up. Like that, you can create some kind of tension. So it starts off pretty dull and not that harsh, and then it just opens up through the whole melody. So this one isn't that hard, but later on it just opens up and gets more crazy, more aggressive. And one last thing is, and that's the thing you can only do Bitwig, kind of, is single note pitches. So right here, these two notes are playing, but only the upper note is pitching down in the end. It's hard to find a workaround for this, but this is pretty important. We do that like through the whole song. I think what you could actually do is use two separate tracks for this, and on the one track you have your low notes, and on the other one you have your high notes, and they get just pitch bended on their own. What's missing then is the distortion that you get from both playing at the same time on the same track into the same effects chain. I would recommend just get Bitwig so you can do this, or yeah, just try around with your distortion, and maybe you can do it on several tracks. Like I told you before, we used a sample. We didn't build our sound that way. But I think it's pretty close, and I think the most important thing about this sound isn't the whole sound design thing, it's how you play it. It's how you just use two notes, like triads or something like that, a really low one and really high one, and pitch them around. Like the pitch bends are really important, and the velocity filter thing. I think these parts are more important than the whole sound design thing, because the sound itself isn't complex at all. It's a really simple sound. You can use samples like from Splice or anything. That's how we did it. We didn't really nerd or like go really deep into complex sound design. We just took a sound we liked, put some distortion on it, pitched it around, and that's it. That's how we came to that intro. So thanks for watching, guys. I think this is the last video on this EP. But we make some videos on future EPs or on different topics like sound design stuff. So yeah, thank you for watching, and listen to our EP, and see you next time.